has certainly walked her through the most painful season of her life, losing her husband in 2019, and we get to hear more of her story over the next few moments. So please prayerfully welcome Tiffany and Lauren.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Well, like Angela mentioned to you, my name is Lauren. I'm on the Rise team. It is my absolute honor to be able to be sitting here with a friend of mine, Tiffany. You have been through so many things and just carried it with grace. And I know that everyone that knows her knows that she is just such a picture of grace and someone that leans on the Lord. And such an honor to just sit here with you and have a convo with you and share your story with the girls. So Tiffany, share with us a little bit about you and your story.
Yeah. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for having me here today. Can you guys hear me okay? And thank you for the intro, dear one. You're such a joy. My goodness. I think you covered it, especially the chicken pot pie. So maybe one lucky winner today can take one home. I'm coming to your house, though. I am so privileged to be here. And again, I've got just the most wonderful, special family. My daughter and my mom and some dear friends are here today. And the grandbaby of my dreams. There's no better place to be. And so I'm so grateful for the family and the love that has surrounded me. But it was in January of 2019 that we experienced the greatest loss of my life. I was 38 years old, and we were married for 18 years. And my family unit, as I knew it, came to an end. Came to an earthly end. And that family unit is something that we cherish. You often dream about what it will be like to have grandkids and your loved ones coming over, and that unit being the connection and that central point. And that was gone as I knew it on earth. My dear husband had suffered for many years for a really a rare autoimmune disease that slowly took over our lives. It began early in our marriage, actually, but didn't progress until years later. Medications, surgeries, infusions, IVs, hospital visits. It became our normal. I remember so much of our time and our journey. People would often say the things, "You're so strong," and "I don't know how you do this," or "I don't know," and I'm going, "I don't know either." But I know that I serve a good God, and I know that He is faithful, and I know He's going to carry me through. And I feel like that just became our life, and we had no choice. We don't have a choice sometimes to surrender the things that we love the most. And that is a difficult place to sit and a difficult place to be, but I knew without a doubt that God was going to carry us through, and He did, even through all the pain and suffering that He went through. It had come to a point where He couldn't work anymore, and we really focused on just taking care of Him and His health, and in addition to working full-time and being a mom and just doing life, I became much of His caretaker in a lot of ways. And the next 7 years was a long journey. It was prayerfully tolerant is how I could describe it, but long-suffering. If you've endured long-suffering or you've known someone that has long suffered, it is a painful process. But you find joy in the process. And in some ways, I think that we are more blessed to have received such joy through that. But as we endured that, as a wife, there was nothing I wanted more than to take away His pain. Just like we would say with our children or anyone that we love so dearly and so tightly that we don't want to let go. We love them unconditionally, right? There was nothing I wanted. Just to take away His pain was really one of the most difficult spaces that I had to sit in. But it was such a gift to be His wife. My husband was McDreamy, let me tell you. He walked in with blonde hair, blue eyes, and I was like, oh my goodness. Let me just go back for a second. I was in college working in home. I've been in home building. That's how we met. He came into the office, and I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm unhinged. And I was like, I got to marry him, whatever it takes. And so we went on our second date, and I came home to my mom, and I said, I'm going to marry him, and that's my goal in life. That's it. And so, yeah, that's my goal. And he brought along the most precious little boy. He was 9 years old at the time. I knew nothing about parenting. I had just turned 21, y'all. And I was like, it's okay. It's okay. I got Jesus. I got my parents. I got my husband who knows something about parenting. And he also had a wonderful mom. And so he had two great parents that allowed me to come into his life and be a bonus mom. And so that was a huge gift. But even through God's goodness, what I always treasured, especially being Donnie's wife, was it was such an honor to love him. It was such an honor to watch him walk this journey of pain and suffering. I personally have never known anyone in my life that has suffered such immense pain for such a long period of time. I often would reflect on when I'm sick, or, the enemy, he sure tried to take me down this week, by the way. I was on my deathbed on Wednesday, and so by the grace of God, I'm here. But, even in those short moments when we're sick, we're like, I'm done. I'm like, I'm done with this, Lord. Take me home. Like, I can't get through this headache for another day. But, he suffered for so many years, and it's like having a dull headache for the rest of your life, 24/7. And so if any of you know that pain, I'm so sorry that you're walking that. And I'm so sorry that you know someone that's walking that. And my heart is with you today. And those are some really difficult places to sit and endure for a long period of time. But the greatest love is the responsibility of loving people where they are. This is one of the greatest gifts. And Jesus made this so clear. I was reminded just his two greatest commandments is the ultimate love story of God, is love God and love our neighbors. And I just kept reminding myself of his goodness and his faithfulness as we kept going and we kept pushing and we kept fighting for this fight that I wanted. And there were parts of me that knew that he was pulling away. And I had to release that. I had to release even what I didn't know. I had to release it to him because I knew it was good. On January 7th of 2019, it all became too much to bear. And my husband took his life unexpectedly. The pain was too much. It overcame him. I don't believe that this was his plan. It was not a moment that we were expecting, but it happened, and it was very final. And the following days were the most devastating, unreal days of my life that we experienced. But one of the greatest gifts that I look back on those days, and my daughter and I were just talking about this, was the truth that God puts things in front of us that we don't even expect. And one of those things was the word shock. And I'm sure there's probably more technical terms for the professionals here. But the word shock, I had quickly looked up around what it talks about, I think medically, is your blood. Your blood is not circulating through your body. And that is actually can be very life-threatening. But the traumatic shock, right, the trauma shock to your body when something like a suicide in this case happens, the shock that happens in your body is you become completely disoriented with what's happening around you. The fog is so intense that you can't breathe. And this continues for days and days and days. But that shock was a gift, and I believe that God uses that as a tool to protect us from the pain that we actually can't endure all at once. I know, we could probably jump into some of the navigation piece.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, first and foremost, for going back to that place. I mean, as we all know with trauma, it's not easy to go back to that place and share your story. So I appreciate you in that. Tiffany, with navigating loss, tell us a little bit about how you walked through that. You know, what got you through that? What did you hold on to? Did God speak something to your heart for maybe those that are going through loss, navigating that now, or maybe that was something that's happened to them in the past?
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. So many things came to mind. And so the first thing I had to do was, this was still over time, and I'm continuing to do this today, but I had to let go of the image of what I thought my life would be forever so that I could find joy right here and right now. That's a hard place to be, but I wanted it with all my heart because I didn't want to let go of my precious husband. I never asked why. I needed to know what. I needed to know what he wanted me to do with this. I needed to know what he wanted me to, how he wanted me to serve others that are experiencing grief and extreme loss, sudden loss, tragic loss. I needed to know what's my next step, because I'll tell you what, it would be so much easier, Lauren, to curl up in that ball and just put my life away and call it a day and become the bitter queen. Let me tell you, it is right on the brink. And if I'm not careful, I could get there. If I'm not careful and I'm not diligent and I'm not in the Word and I'm not doing the things and staying in community every day and going to Him every day, I could get there. It is an easy step, but I have to fight the battle. I have to fight the urge to give in to the enemy. I need to write and journal. And let me tell you, this is not my gift. I don't actually enjoy it that much until I look back. And so, I'm losing my shoes here. I painted my toes, you guys, for today. So, oh gosh, now everybody's going to look at my feet. I'm in trouble. Okay, sorry. But writing is so therapeutic, and when I do it, I know I need to do it more. And so I write each day. The fog, especially when you lose, it can be so mind-numbing, and you can truly feel brainless. And so to go back and see those notes was such a gift to remind myself of the grace that I needed to give myself. And I would also say, create new rhythms in your life. These rhythms are not going to be the same, friends. Whether you have lost a spouse or a friend or a parent or a child, if you've lost a great love, you have to create new rhythms in your life. You cannot go back to the way it was. It's not the way it was. A piece of your heart is no longer there. That piece of you is in heaven, and it's no longer on earth. So we have to, grief is a part of navigating how to function here on earth without that piece. And so we can't fill it with, we could fill it with lots of things. We could fill it with shopping. I did a bit of grief shopping, I'm not going to lie. Starbucks. We can fill it with other things that are unhealthy, whether it's alcohol or drugs or other addictions. So easily, right, we can be pulled back into that. But creating new rhythms and having this community around you is vital. And I think that, I'm going to touch on that next, but I want to make sure that we're staying on track.
You are just doing perfect. Yes. So inspired by you. Share with the women, if you could give a word of encouragement, also share a little bit of where you are now, because there's a lot of hope behind the curtain here too. And
yes,
you just carry this with so much grace and joy. And anyone that knows Tiffany knows that she just is embodied of that even through everything. So share with us.
Yes, of course. Well, what got me through? Jesus, for sure. Every day. He is the one. There's nothing else. He is number one. And I just saw this the other day, and it was like, he's in his own category. Like, it's not God's number one. God is the one. Like, there is no, like, God check, like, because we do that. Like, I do it. I'm like, oh, God in the morning, like, but I'm like, he is the one. He is I am. I saw a Time magazine that had a picture of Jesus, and it was like, who do they say I am? I'm like, hello, he is I am. I'm like, you guys are spreading the gospel and you don't even know it. Anyway, sorry, I got off track. But like Christ, he's so good like that. And I knew without a doubt that my honey, my Donnie, my love of my life was with Jesus. I knew immediately that he was in the arms of Jesus. And, there's a lot of stigma around suicide and what that looks like. But I can assure you, my husband knew the Lord, and he went into the arms of Jesus immediately. And he knew where he was going. It was some of his last words, John 14:6. For I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And he went straight to the Father. And also, spoiler alert, like, we're all going to die. Like, I know it's like, we were talking about this last night, but it's like, we're all going, like, it's happening. It just happened for me a little sooner than the world knows how to express and expect. We don't expect a 38-year-old. We have a hard time knowing how to walk in that space with somebody. A couple other things, my community, it's the biggest piece. I heard someone say, my front row friends, I was like, oh, yes, I have so many rows, and I am so privileged, and I feel so blessed to have the friends and the community, my church, and Allie was one of the first people that I saw. And I just been so abundantly blessed by that. People showed up at our home, strangers. People paid my mortgage for months that I didn't even know. It's complete strangers. We received over 100 meals. I was like, okay, I thank you. I was like, but it was such a gift. We never had to think about making a meal for quite some times. My employer was overly gracious and generous. I am so fortunate to work for a wonderful organization. I told like 2 people that my daughter loves Starbucks, and she got a year's worth of Starbucks. And so, it's like people just abundantly blessed. And I learned how to say yes and just accept, because as the giver, that was their gift to me. And I just learned to accept and say yes. And it was a blessing all around. And the other piece, get yourself a counselor. They are vital to our healing. We cannot heal if we don't feel. And I just believe this with all my heart. I have a wonderful counselor. My daughter and I both see the same. And so she has walked this journey with us and continues to and will until we say otherwise. But continue to seek counsel, whether it's a friend or a professional, and have those anchors in place. When Donnie first died, it was like all I could do was sit in worship music, and that was my anchor. It was too painful to get in the Word. Like, it was too painful to pray. I couldn't bear it. It was like he was. I couldn't grasp it, and so it was too intimate. But God has done so many new things, and He has continued to restore His goodness and His love, because He is like the ultimate lover. He is like, let me just show you how good God is. Let me just show you how good I am. And He started just opening my heart a little bit. And I was like, no, thank you. And I opened my heart, and this last year, I became engaged to a wonderful man named Eric, who captured my heart. And I believe that my angel in heaven sent me an angel on earth to spend the rest of this life with me here today. And if you're questioning love on this earth, whatever season you're in, whether it's just the love of a friend or a love of a spouse or a love of an employer, or maybe it's just the love of a community. Just seek that and pray for it. I'm telling you, I was praying my most secret prayers, and that's when I knew I had to step into opening my heart, and he answered those prayers fervently. And so I was just beyond grateful. But what I will wrap up with is my last word of encouragement is understanding my new identity in him. Just months after Donnie had passed, there are all these labels that are put on us. And I was a student at one time. I was a wife. I was a mom. I was an employer. I was a sister. I was a daughter. And I'm sitting at Oak Creek Canyon in Sedona, and I was a widow. And that word I was like, oh, like I just soaked in my tears. And I said, really, God? Like now, I'm 38, I'm a widow? And he said, Tiff, I got you. He's like, sweet girl. He's like, you don't need these labels. You have one label. And that label is the one true daughter of the one true king. And that's it. That's all and he just washed over me, and his goodness and his love poured over me. And I didn't need anything else at that moment. I didn't need anything else. He is all that we need. And I'm so grateful, and I thank you so much for allowing me to share, because it is so healing. And I would love to talk to anyone here that is experiencing great loss, because sharing is such a beautiful part of walking grief in this journey, because we're going to continue to walk it until our time ends here.
Thank you, Tiffany. Appreciate you.
Thank you.